Quality and Standards Authority of India. Over the past 3 years, what I'm now reasonably convinced and getting more and more convinced that food that we eat is central to the public health issues in the country. I'm sure that many of you have seen the World Bank report and the WHO reports on the burden of foodborne diseases in terms of their impact on GDP, the issues that have been analyzed by WHO in terms of the death and disease due to foodborne illnesses exceeding that of HIV AIDS, tuberculosis, and what was the third one? Malaria taken together. So if that is the extent of impact of food on our daily lives, on public health, then why this is not being given the kind of importance that it should be? A joint study done by PHFI, Public Health Foundation of India, ICMR, showed that 6 out of 10 risks, public health risks, the disease risks are arising out of our diets. And today, this morning, after this fascinating session, I'm convinced that the remaining 4 are also somewhat related to our diets. This new realization about, while it has been fairly well understood in our ancient tradition of Ayurveda, but this new realization about safety of our safe food and healthy diets, and it's not only healthy diets, I think the safety of food that we eat, and the two are so interrelated, is being recognized and acted upon. It's becoming part of main public health discourse globally. In fact, the very first international conference on food safety is being jointly organized by WHO and FAO in Addis Ababa in February. So all these point out to the fact that what we are discussing here today is central to the public health discourse. And this connect is often ignored. I'm so happy that I'm part of this gathering. Over the past 3 years, I've also recognized another thing, that on issues of safe food and healthy diets, sometimes perceptions are far more important than reality. And those perceptions are created by the media, which have a little negativity bias, which often want to do a little bit of, for the purpose of getting eyeballs, scare people, so that their reports get more attention, or by the marketing campaigns very successfully run by large food companies. As a result of this, people at large are by and large very confused of what to eat and what not to eat. Government, professionals, medical doctors, dietitians, nutritionists, we have not been able to do a good job in terms of educating public at large on what to eat. Of course, there is no clear answer to this because diets are, and I think it is increasingly being recognized, they cannot be one single diet for the entire country, for all our citizens. So there has to be a concept of personalized diets, so that makes things far more complicated. But I'm sure that there can be some facts that can be shared. Public can be better informed about some of the issues relating to safe food and healthy diets. And that is precisely why we launched what we are referring to as Eat Right India campaign. Our earlier focus has been on food safety and on healthy diets around NCDs, obesity and non-communicable diseases. By attending and being part of this very interesting symposium, international symposium on wheat-related disorders, I'm more than convinced that these issues also require attention, as much attention that the NCDs and obesity are beginning to get in the country. They'll be far more difficult to handle in a public messaging campaigns, but we need to address them, at least flag them in our communication campaigns. Now, coming to the wheat-related disorders, I have gone through the 12-point action plan that Celiac Society of India has put together on its website. It's very, very comprehensive. I congratulate the Celiac Society of India and Ishi Ghosla in particular for taking a very comprehensive view of things. And perhaps with the help of all of you, the way right from 2006, the way she had steered the whole movement around celiac diseases is remarkable. It's fascinating. I would like to focus on 3 specific points which relate to the food systems. One is around, I think we cannot and should not be in a denial mode around wheat-related disorders anymore. We must accept the reality that there is something like wheat-related disorders. And I do know that the expert opinion in India amongst the medical practitioners and dietitians, nutritionists, is fairly divided on the issue. Many of them believe that this is a disease of the West. It is a disease that affects only the rich and the super rich. The population at large is not affected by that. But I think a lot of evidence that is being shared by you all in this symposium will help us and help many of us, our Indian colleagues, to recognize the fact that this is a real public health issue that needs to be addressed by our all working together. From denial to acceptance is one thing that, I'm sure that this international symposium will make all of us to work on. Second is around awareness building. And as I saw the presentations that markers for wheat-related disorders, I think a lot more work is required to be done. But whatever knowledge and information that we have, I think we should put it together and make it a part of our public health system so that these diseases and these disorders are recognized and there is diagnosis about them. We can separate fact from fiction around wheat-related disorders in the country. So once the disease is diagnosed, once these disorders are known, the second challenge is to prepare individuals and families to face those challenges. And at the government and policy level, I think creating a food system, that is suited for them, that is fit for them. In India, we have not done a lot in this space, except putting together labeling regulations on packaged food, which perhaps also require a review, and we are currently in the process of reviewing our labeling regulations on gluten. We have also put out a paper on consultation for menu labeling in restaurants and hotels with a specific provision for labeling around allergens, including gluten. But more than that, we have to nudge the food businesses to provide options for those who are affected by them, both in packaged food and also in served food. And as some estimates have been done, there are about 6 to 8 million people in India that suffer from these disorders. So the market is large. So it may be growing slowly, but the market is large, and I think businesses would look at this opportunity, and provide more options to people who suffer from these disorders. And the third role that the food authority can play is, we in some sense are also provide technical guidance to the government in its policy making. With the help of professionals, we would definitely work towards providing more robust policy and regulatory response to address issues arising out of wheat-related disorders. Finally, I think I must share with you that just a couple of days back, representatives of Flour Millers Association of India met me, and this issue was so much on the top of my mind that I discussed it with them. And I was so grateful that they looked at it in a very positive manner. We were able to convince them that rather than dismissing this issue, I think you could think in terms of a more mature response on behalf of the industry that is wheat related to this issue. I'm sure some of those people are present here in this room, and they have assured me that they will examine these issues and see that what could be a matured response of the wheat industry to wheat-related disorders, which are now being recognized as real disorders that need to be addressed by all of us together. So once again, I thank the Celiac Society of India and the organizers of International Symposium for Wheat-related Disorders for giving me this platform to share my thoughts. And we do hope, as we move forward in our journey to address wheat-related disorders in the country, we can, by doctors, dietitians, nutritionists, industry, government, regulator, all working together, along with the support of international community, which we have been very successfully able to get the best minds on the subject in this international symposium, provide a very matured and sustainable response to these orders in a country where wheat is a religion, wheat is our culture. So anything that we do with wheat, and if we say that they are wheat-related disorders, is not going to be easily acceptable. So I think we can provide a more matured response to these problems as we move forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.